All right, so wonderful to have all of you here. I'm honored to have such a great audience. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so great to have all of you in this discussion. This is going to be a very hands-on discussion. And those who are wondering what is it about, we basically launched events. Now, essentially, this is about this particular event. Today, um, all right, so great, wonderful to see everybody in this discussion. Okay, all right, all right. So let me just organize my windows and I'll be good to go. Perfect, perfect. And yes, hi there. Hello, everyone from various countries and various places. I know you all are going through a tough time because of COVID, and I'm hoping that this particular discussion would help you gain some knowledge, gain some practical knowledge, which would help you in career. All right. So all right. So what are we going to do today is we are going to pick one project on how would you deploy an image classification model using Flask by CloudxLab. All right. So whatever we are going to learn here is widely applicable to your work. It is not specific to a particular platform or particular technology. Most of the tools that we are going to talk about or what we are going to learn today are essentially general knowledge. All right. So let me just check once more my audio settings. Um, let's see if my mic, ouch, my mic is not correctly enabled. Sorry about that. I will enable my mic. Just give me a moment. Looks like it came out. Right, let's just try again. Let's see how it goes. Ouch, looks like it's not going to work like this. Perfect. Now it's turning on. All right, let's see how it goes. Okay, let's see. My mic is appearing. Perfect. Perfect. All right, so I hope my voice is clear to all. And what is wrong with this? Okay, I can see my external mic to be connected. And here it says that. Okay. Perfect. Hi, everyone. So great to see so many people in this webinar. I'm very happy to see people from across the globe. All right, so let me see if you guys can introduce yourself briefly. I'm Sandeep Giri. I am from CloudxLab, and I'm logged in from Bangalore, India. So All right. Feel free to introduce yourself, tell you about the place, where are you from, and tell a brief background so that everybody else also can read it. And yes, and then we are good to go. We are already 4 minutes late. Um, but I think 3 to 4 minutes delay is perfectly fine. Okay, let's get started. This session is going to be extremely hands-on, meaning that I'm going to take a particular idea wherever needed. I'll explain to you the theory part of it. If you have no clue what is a web app, what is a machine learning model, don't panic. I'll help you out. All right. And the way we are going to do is we are going to take one step at a time and we are going to build the model. All right. And at CloudxLab, we have built a good platform whereby you can do hands-on, you can do projects, and it's essentially a lab on the cloud. And this lab essentially has all the open source public components needed for the data analytics, data sciences, machine learning, uh, big data, data engineering, and machine learning and deep learning. It has all the tools. And this particular session, what we're going to do is we are going to take a very practical problem. Usually, what happens is that the industry is divided into machine learning engineers or data scientists. And there are some people who are from DevOps background. There are some people who are from software development background. Now, when it comes to build a web application, right? It's an intersection of all the people. It's intersection of all the people from different background. For example, let's say you want to build a machine learning model to recognize an object, right? So on one hand, you will have to develop a model, machine learning model, which basically given image will convert it into a category, okay, or infer a category from the image, whether it's a elephant or this, that. So the model will translate an input into something, correct? Now, the data scientists will usually work on fine tuning the model, increasing its performance with respect to the precision and accuracy, and reducing the bias in the outcome. While the software development engineers, SDEs, or full stack engineers or backend engineers, they will take this model and try to integrate it in their software. Now, on the other hand, there'll be certain engineers who take care of the production problems, and they would deploy it into the production. Now, if you see that when you are building a full-fledged web application, it's an overlap of three separate skill sets: machine learning engineers, software engineers, and the deployment engineers or DevOps. Now, how do you essentially solve such kind of problem? The thumb rule is that you train your machine learning engineers into other skills, and you train your DevOps engineers into machine learning as well as software engineering and so on. Not that deep, but they should know the brief about both sides of the wire. Okay, and this essentially makes sure that you know if all these three parties, software engineers, like machine learning scientists, and third one is the DevOps engineers. So if all these three parties know and are comfortable with each other, the overlap or the connect happens properly. Okay, I have many war stories whereby the project almost failed because of disconnect between the people in a company. I remember in one of my projects, what has happened was the machine learning researchers, they built a model, and when we were putting it to production, it was taking too much memory, and the DevOps guys, they threw it away. They did not let us go into production and so on. Now the software engineers are stuck in between somewhere. And now what happens is that in such scenarios, if software engineers actually take a closer look at the model, they would be able to understand what exactly is the problem. Similarly, if the DevOps engineers also look at the model and understand what's going on, they would be able to figure out a solution. And that's what we did. We went through, like, engineers went through the model, understood it. They understood what is going on in the deployment, why there is a restriction, and so on. And this essentially solved a very critical problem of taking something to production. If something, no matter how sophisticated you may build it, if it's not going into production, it is a loss for everyone. Okay, it's not something that, okay, I did my job and it's out. No, it is a loss for everybody if nothing goes in production. And that's why what I feel is that such kind of project, the one that we're going to discuss, would make everybody acquainted with what we are dealing with here today. All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to learn how to deploy a model in the production. Let me turn off my phone. And yes, let's move ahead. Okay, so first of all, we are going to go into Explore Courses. Okay, when you click on Explore Courses, you're going to see this kind of a list. And there we are going to just search for Flask. All right, so how to deploy image classification model. Okay, so it looks like this is the one that we are going to work with. Okay, so this is the project. You all can try it, and you all can spend some time understanding it. After this webinar, make sure that you finish this. Okay, after this webinar, make sure you go through all the steps that I'm talking here, and then and then you take this deploy the model the way I'm going to do today, and then it'll give you the certificate and everything. Now, the beauty about these projects, the one that you see here, these are called guided projects. Okay, and this guided project would help you understand each and every part of the process. And the beauty is that the guided project actually checks your steps. So it slightly gives you nudges and it keeps you motivated. And if you are wrong at certain step, it'll stop you there so that you can solve that step before going to the next step. Okay. So that's the thing that we have developed. And we believe that this is the only way of learning a real skill, real tech skill. This is the only way of learning. If somebody is just teaching, it doesn't help because you are not going to do hands-on. If somebody is just giving the videos, you won't learn because you will just be busy in watching the video. But if you do this exercise along with the project, then I can guarantee that you will definitely understand the entire process. Okay, so let's get started. So in this project, what we're going to do is we are going to deploy an image classification pre-trained Keras model with Flask. Now, there are too many keywords here, too many words here. Let me just one by one, I will, explain to you what each part is. Okay, so first of all, let me explain to you what exactly is Flask. Okay, Flask is Flask is essentially a web application. Okay, meaning that when you open www.something.com, what program is going to kick in that you configure in Flask or any similar web application, right? So if you are going to say /xyz or say google.com and /xyz, this /xyz, Flask knows how to deal with it. So we will configure Flask to handle our URL. Similarly, when we submit a form, it goes to Flask, and Flask will basically look at what to do with the submission of the form. So a web application is essentially the key to today's world. Okay, so you should know, no matter whether you are a researcher, you are into DevOps, you are into backend engineering, front-end engineering, you must know what exactly is a web application. All right, well, you should know what exactly is a web application server. So basically here, Flask is essentially that. It's basically a web application server. All right. In the same territory, you have, say, Django, you had Tomcat in Java, and the list goes on and on. Okay. So these are web app server in the sense that when somebody is calling a URL, it knows what to do with that. Should it give the resources, give a file to the user, or should it execute a program and give the output to the user? Essentially, it does that. So you can say that Flask is essentially a mapping between URL and the programs. Okay, that's essentially any web application is. Now, the second thing is, what exactly is a model? Okay, what exactly is model? Okay, very quickly, I'll give you the clear idea. So yes, thank you so much. Somebody mentioned IIS. Yes. Okay. All right. So, all right. Okay. Okay, there is a question from Krishna, is there is a web server and app server? Okay, I'll not get into that debate, but just understand that any web application server or web server is going to serve you a URL, accept a form from you. Okay, and there's a very thin line difference. Web applications are like, there is a web server, something like Nginx, right? The web server, something like Apache, something like Nginx. They basically usually they do not do much. They delegate the work to the others. So that's a thin line difference, but I'll not get into that. Okay, so now moving ahead, and here we go. So the model, right, the model is, what exactly is the model, right? So let's say there is a problem to be solved, correct? Such as, given an image, identify whether it's a cow or or a goat, right? So let's say we have to separate it into cow or goat, right? This is the input image. Usually, what we used to do is we will write our code. Okay, so earlier we'll write rules. If the pixel is this, then that, and so on. Okay, so basically we write some rules. Okay, we write, these rules are in the form of code. So code, right? So basically the input image comes to the code, and code basically turns it into a cow or goat, right? Now this code is essentially the rules. This used to be the older way of non-machine learning approach. Okay, now the rules could be in today's time, people realize that this way of writing rules was not sensible. Okay, this way of writing rules is not sensible because it doesn't work very well. So people came up with machine learning model way. Okay, so what you do is you basically prepare a model which will be able to, do this task. Okay, we call it, let's say, model. Now, where does this model come from? This model is the result of experiences. Okay, so what we do is we will feed it past images labeled classes. Okay, let's say we gather all the images of cow and the goat, and we label each of the image. Okay, and we feed it to, say, some algorithm, right? Algorithm could be, or you can say algorithm slash model, or you can say training. By the way of training, we basically come up with a model, right? So this algorithm basically translates. So this is the training part. Just like in childhood, we learned from so many things: A for apple, B for bird, and C for cat, like that. We are training the model. So the end result of this training, like thousands of images, we are feeding to the algorithm and we are generating a model. You can say training a model. That's another term that we use. So based on the past experiences or past image data we have gathered, we will train it, right? And we will generate this model. Now, this model essentially is based on the images that we have fed to it, and the class is expecting. So once we have given past images along with the classes. Usually this we call capital X and this we call small y, okay? And the model is ready. And once we have the model, then when we call this model on an image, it would give it would give y, okay? Y could be 0, y could be 1, 0 representing cow, 1 representing goat, and so on. So this is called the model, right? Now, this model, you yourself can train it. You yourself can train it, as in, if you have lots of computing power. This process is time consuming. This is time consuming as well as it resource consuming. You need generally a little more powerful computing resources, and as well as it is going to be requiring lots of data, lots of images, right? So lots of data. Now, usually what happened is that like some people, they train their model and make it available in the market. So you can use those model. You can use those model for your own purpose. Okay, as I said last time, there are these model zoos, whereby pre-trained model is essentially model trained by someone else, right? So, and you can take this model, customize it, and utilize it in whatever form possible. Okay, so this is a breakthrough in the ecosystem of the machine learning, that instead of you training it, somebody else has trained it, right? It's like you hire a trained professional. You don't have to give them a training. So you can basically use the pre-trained model. So take a look at Model Zoo. Okay, and there are many resources from where you can download these models. Okay, so you don't have to train everything, you don't have to gather the data, you don't have to dedicate resources, and therefore pre-trained model is a way to go. Okay, and also you can customize these models which are trained by somebody else for your own work. Okay, and utilize those. Okay, so that's called a pre-trained model. What exactly is Keras? I'll just define Keras here. Okay, Keras is essentially basically a kind of a API, a clean API, which is very popular in this, the domain. And we are going to use TensorFlow Keras. Okay, so TensorFlow earlier, it came up with very raw API. Then they basically took the inspiration from Keras, and that API is now in the neat format. Okay. Now, what does it mean by image classification? Classifying an image into classes is called image classification. Classification is a supervised machine learning problem, meaning we need the labeled data. We have images, we have marked as with each image with a label. So that is the training data we have is basically already marked, right? So image classification is a problem whereby what we are going to run a model, it is going to convert that model into classes, and that's it. All right. So now that's what we have discussed here. So we are going to build a nice web application to which we'll upload an image and it'll show the classes of it. Okay. And we're going to extend our whatever we learn earlier. Okay. But if you're new here, you're coming in for the first time, do not worry. We are going to, you know, address whenever possible. All right. This I have made an earlier video as well, so you can take a look at that one. Okay. So let's move ahead. All right. So one of the very important thing, and this is something that I'm I request everybody, no matter which branch of engineering you are from, okay, whether you are a front-end engineer, back-end engineer, SQL analyst, Linux administrator, system administrator, web developer, cybersecurity expert, no matter where you are in the ecosystem, program or program manager, product manager, where you are in the ecosystem, you must know how to build a basic web app. It gives you a thought clarity on how does the whole ecosystem of HTTP works, and it also makes you confident that someday if you have to launch a web application of your own, you will be able to do it very quickly. Also, if you are, let's say, going to build your own personal website, the chances are you're going to use WordPress, or you're going to use some other CMS. We call them content management system. Even then, your knowledge with respect to web application will be very useful. Okay. All right. So this is the directory structure that oh, I'm in the wrong window. Okay, I'm going to move to my own account. All right. Wonderful. So I'm going to just switch my account to my personal one, because here in this account, my, all right. All right. So here my lab will be not expired. There my office lab has expired. All right. So if your lab is not expired, you will see a console here and so on, right? So at CloudxLab, we provide the full environment where you can create your file, you can write your programs, you can store images or data that you can do. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to, Mhm. All right. Okay, so I think people are chatting amongst themselves. Okay, so this is the directory structure of a web application. Okay, even you, no matter which background you are from, do not panic, do not worry. I'm going to explain to you every part. This is utmost important. If you have anything to do with computers, this thing, or you develop anything, you are going to know this. Okay, you will be knowing this. This is like the 101 on how to make a web application, all right, or a website. So this will give you a good clarity, and trust me, it's going to help you no matter which platform you're going to use, which framework you'll use, which server you'll use. In this knowledge is going to be very helpful, because most of the conventions, most of the strategies are identical amongst different applications, different web applications, or different web application servers. All right. So this is the structure that we are going to create. First, we'll create this top level folder. Then there will be one file, app_helper.py. Then there will be a static right folder inside which there will see CSS. CSS is basically the cascading style sheets to beautify your HTML pages. And in there, we'll put one file, main.css. Then we'll create a folder called uploads. Usually this upload supposed to be at a place which is not accessible by anybody. And but for this discussion, I'm going to keep it here. This is the place where when you upload an image, it's going to be stored here. All right. The simple objective is we are going to create a web app where you can select an image, upload it to the server, and server tells us what does this image have. Okay, so that's the expectation of the end outcome. Again, let me explain to you what is the end outcome. We are going to build a web application to which we can upload any image, and it's going to tell us what does that image contain. All right. So it's going to, like, we'll upload any image, and it'll tell what's there in that image, and almost look to you like a magic. Okay. Again, I'm Sandeep Giri. Those who are looking for introduction, reach out to me at LinkedIn, or you can drop me an email. So all right. So first of all, this is the main folder. Okay. This is the directory we'll create. This is the folder in which everything stays. This is where the static files such as the CSS and other files stay. The uploads folder, though we are keeping it here, but usually we keep it somewhere else. But for this exercise, small exercise, we're going to keep it here. Templates are something where these the templates of homepage and right are going to be used. This will be the home page. Index.html, upload.html will be the page from which you will upload the image. Layout will be general template. Okay, so don't panic, we're going to go slowly and explaining each other. All right. So so there'll be navigation bar and other things. Okay, so yeah, let's move ahead. Perfect. So first of all, we are going to create a project directory. Okay, create a new directory named this using make mkdir command. So mkdir is the Unix directory. This is my home directory. Those who are not comfortable with Linux, I would suggest that they should get comfortable. There's a Linux tutorial in our CloudxLab. Make sure that you get comfortable with the Linux. Okay, this is not something specific to CloudxLab. Everywhere you go on server, anywhere you go on the on in any company, wherever there is a serious work, like serious web application work happening, most likely you'll find a Unix command because it helps you automate, and mostly the Linux servers are way more efficient, so people prefer Linux servers. And yeah, I do not want to start a flame war between Windows versus Linux, but here we are going to stick to the Linux one. All right. So I'm creating this folder here. I'm going to delete my older folder. All right. So mkdir means make directory with this name. Okay. So PWD shows you present working directory. Everything is like a hierarchy in which you can keep on creating the folder. And this is your home directory. When you log in, you will have your own personal directory where you can keep your data and you can build things. And when I'm saying make directory, it's essentially going to create this directory inside this folder. Okay. And of course, you can do the same thing in Windows, but on CloudxLab, we have Linux environment mostly. All right. Now, this is the place where we are going to do our work. Okay. And those who are wondering why Linux, my request will be to everybody that most of the technical products, specifically server-oriented products, are usually on Linux. It helps you in career, and in case you are looking for a tutorial on Linux, just go to Explore Courses, search for Linux, and there's a wonderful tutorial here, Linux Basics. Go through it. It has 25 assessments, and it is fairly hands-on exercise. All right. So more than 5,000 people have already successfully learned Linux here. Okay. I think more than that, 20,000 or so. Okay. Coming back to it, this is the main folder that we have created. Now let's just check if we have done it right. Yes. Okay. Now the next one is we are going to create something called virtual environment. Virtual environment is essentially a very cool thing by Python. So those who are coming from the software engineering background, or those who are coming from Windows background, they would know that when we install a new program, it used to create all kinds of dependencies. Remember that DLL hell? Like one DLL overwrites another, and there used to be like crazy. So every time you install something, you end up messing up with the whole environment. So the general strategy is to use something called virtual environment that is there in Python. Python has made it so cool that you can have like 5 different projects using 5 different kind of libraries with 5 different versions, and still your system will not become a mess. You will happily use it. Okay, so the virtual environment is what we're going to create. So we are in this folder right now, image classification app. Now we are going to create this virtual environment. All right, let me see. Okay, yeah, we are at this step number 4. All right, so this environment we have created called image environment. Okay, let's activate it. To activate it, we run this command like this. Okay, so now you can see this thing has come on the prompt, says that we are in this environment. All right. Okay, so I'll just increase the window size of the right hand side. Right, so this is the environment which we have activated. Now this environment is activated, everything here you can see is there, but don't mind, right now we are using Python 2 here in this particular project, but Python 3 is also fine. Okay, so in case you are interested in Python 3, you can use environment variable that is there, so you can use that. All right, and coming back to it, so we have activated this step is done, right? This step is done. We can simply do this. Okay, that's okay. Now we can submit. Let's see if we pass. Yeah, it passed. Now moving ahead to the next exercise. I'm not getting the points because I've already done it earlier. Okay. Now we are installing Flask. Okay. So when we are installing Flask, it is getting installed in my environment. It won't bother any user, or it won't require any administrative permissions. So it won't require anybody like admin permission. So it will happily install it. This essentially means pip install Flask. Flask is the application that we are installing, and this is the version number that we are installing. Okay, and whatever it depends upon, it has installed all of that. Now we are moving ahead. We are installing something called setup tools. So this is done. Next one is right. So we are installing gRPC IO. Okay, those are the things that you will require. Okay, you can always search for what exactly is gRPC IO, just to be clear, gRPC IO. Okay, so it's basically an RPC, remote process call API. All right, so now it's getting installed. Thank you so much for appreciating the session. I'm really happy that you are interested in hands-on. And yes, in today's world, the time has come for the hands-on part, because theory part is generally done. Okay. Now we are installing TensorFlow. You can see that we are installing TensorFlow 1.14. Next is we are going to install Pillow. Pillow is a library. Pillow is a library for image manipulation. Also, TensorFlow is a library for doing lots of machine learning, deep learning, and AI things. And there's a lots of dependency that is installing. You can see NumPy, Keras, and everything is installing. So after that is done, we will be installing this part. Okay. So in case your disk quota goes beyond 3 GB, there would be a bit error. So you should delete your other downloads in the home directory of CloudxLab. And And once you have successfully finished it, you can request a certificate. All right. It might take a bit of time, so have a bit of patience. Anyway, I'm going to just paste and press enter. All right. It's basically installing the various things. Let's hope that it finishes. All right. So what we are trying to do right now is we are trying to build the entire web application in this live session. And the main idea is to make sure that all of you are also learning and understanding the real issues when you are deploying a service. We always, when we see the various tutorials, they always say about deploying your model as service and this and that. But here, what we are doing is we are building a real web application, building it like a service and so on. Okay. So those who are interested in understanding what exactly Flask does, take a look at what exactly is Flask and so on. Right. So you can see that right now the TensorFlow is basically getting installed. It is installing all its dependency. I'll just give you the brief of dependency since we have time. So NumPy is basically array. Since Python's array are slow, so people design NumPy array, which basically numeric arrays, which can install, which can basically do the processing really fast. Because if you think about machine learning is all about playing around with the numbers, right? When we say model is essentially, array of arrays of numbers. This model that we are going to talk about today, this model has got around approximately 1 billion numbers in it. Okay, so whenever we are doing any processing, we are essentially multiplying those arrays or processing those arrays. That's why having a NumPy, a numeric array, which is extremely efficient, is the key game changer, right? Then Keras preprocessing is another package that TensorFlow depends upon, and so on. I have no clue what are these for. Okay. And this is the estimator part. It's essentially one library of TensorFlow. This is H5PY. H5PY is something to do with the images. Okay. Okay, it's basically for a particular binary format of data. All right, because lots of images and data is in that format. Okay, now there is Markdown. Markdown is like markup, just that it's way more simpler. TensorBoard is a way of visualizing the TensorFlow training progress, as well as debugging your training problems when you are training your model. All right, so I hope it finishes someday. I think it'll finish in maybe a couple of more minutes. I think what I can do is I can create this environment for all of you, and you can just activate it whenever you want it. Yeah, so that nobody needs to install any of these things again. Yeah, I think that'll be a good idea, and I can just give instruction on how to activate that environment. I can just create an environment for all the people, and yeah, that'll be it. Okay, so I think that's a good learning from this session for me, that we'll create a centralized environment which you can activate and use it without having to install entire process. Keras preprocessing is essentially for like the utility library in which you have these utility functions for preprocessing data. Okay. Perfect. I'm getting impatient. I hope that this finishes quickly. If you guys have questions in the meantime, I can answer the questions. All right. Okay, so what's coming next? All right. Afterwards, we'll be creating these helper function. Yeah, but I think in a way that all these steps are mentioned, it's important because it's an important part of the process. If we start, if we did not go through these steps and you have to do something in production, you will wonder like, where will I get that environment from? So I think I I think I'll just mention that as extra step. A question from Krishna is pre-processing is data, yeah, kind of data cleaning. Pre-processing could be of many forms. Like for example, let's say you want to truncate data, translate, you know, let's say there are missing values, you can fill it with some other uh, 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 other value and so on. So all of those parts are in pre-processing. So these installations take a long time. I was up 3 a.m. yesterday doing this. That's right, Rutvik. And sometimes it does take time. Did you try this one? Did it take that much time? Uh, a question from Sumit is that Flask converts the model into a black box thing. Um, Kind of. It basically takes the model. You will load the model, run it, and it converts it into like a service. Not really black box. Okay, model is generally a black box. Okay, so black box is something into which you can't see. Okay, so when you are training, right, when you do the training, the one that I was discussing earlier, right, when you do the training, the model that comes out is bunch of numbers, and interpreting the model, what exactly the model is doing and how exactly it is giving the results is a area of research. And most of these newer models are not that interpretable. Like, so the older models, like for example, you go with decision tree, you will be able to say, okay, it's breaking down here the boundary. If this is less than this, it'll go this side and so on. So that's a white box model, as in you can see what's going on, or it is interpretable. But these models like deep neural networks are hard to interpret. So usually the neural networks are considered to be the black box, but there has been tremendous research in interpretability of the model. And nowadays the models are people are able to kind of guess what's going on in which part. It's like, you ask somebody that, hey, on what basis did you judge that this candidate is good or bad for hiring? They'll say, I can figure it out by looking at people's face, but I can't tell you exactly how I thought about it. It's my instinct, right? So similarly, just like the people are fairly black box when you ask about their instincts, similarly models are kind of like the more complex models are essentially fairly black box. Okay, all right. After model building, the step is deployment. That's correct. And that deployment is what we are doing right now. Let me take a look at what has been done. Yes, we are done. All right. Uh, okay. Is Flask suitable for production deployment, or do we use Apache or Nginx on top of? Good question, Ravi. So yes, that's how we do. We basically first create Apache or Nginx layer, and then put, say, Flask or other web services small independently. And the main traffic comes to the Apache or Nginx, and then it gets routed to Flask or Django or let's say Node.js or your Java Web Services and so on, right? The reason is that Apache and Nginx know how to deal with a lot of traffic, specifically static one. And that also gives a ability to handle, if let's say you have 100 teams in your company, take an example of Amazon. If you have like 100 different teams doing 100 different like sub URL handling, let them use whatever technology they want, but the main one is going to be either Apache or Nginx, right? So that's how it is. And all right, a question is, all right, I think I have answered the question. Let me click on submit answer. Is everything installed? Let's see if it works. Fingers crossed. Perfect. It's just checking my directory structure, and it's basically telling me whether I'm doing good or not. Now we are going to create a file name app helper. This is essentially the core, one of the very important, files. Okay. So here, also those who are not comfortable with this and are more friendly with the files and folders, you can click on the file section. You will see the files in the Jupyter kind of interface. So I have just too many files, so it's going to be a little slow. Let me also turn on my pen. Okay. Yes, this session is being recorded. Okay. All right. So now here I go. You can see that this has created a folder here. Okay. And you can, right? Similarly, you can create new folder here or new text file and things like that. All right. So, but I'm more comfortable with console, but don't panic. Whether you do it from the files and folders or you do it from here, it's all the same. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to get into this folder. We are here already. Okay. Here cd tilde means we go into home directory, then come back to this. Okay. Because this folder is in my home directory. Okay. And my home directory is here. So either I go to my home directory and come back here, or I stay here. I'm here itself, so nothing to worry. Now we're going to create a file apphelper.py. Okay. So either we can go here, click on new and click on text file. It has opened a new file here, a new window. And I'm going to, let me just go back here, copy paste this content there. Okay. And then I'm going to save, and I can also rename it. Yeah. I rename the file, and then I'm going to just click on save. All right. So there we go. Let me also move this other side. Perfect. So it has saved in this file. You can see it has come here. You see that? This is the file that we're talking about. Similarly, if you go here in the Unix one, and ls for listing the file, so you can see the list, right? So you can take a look at what's there inside it using cat command. Nice. So it's done. Okay, so this is saved. And this is the main important file. So main important content, right? Let me just walk you through what's going on here. This is where the real work will happen. Okay. The first thing is import. We are importing the model. We are using a model called ResNet. ResNet is essentially a complex model which won multiple prizes in the competition of identifying the image. Okay, so ResNet contains the model which basically can convert your image into the classification. If you really want to understand the machine learning, deep learning part of it, do join our session on deep learning. If you go to our homepage, you'll find the courses for the same. All right. So here what you have is we are importing the model. Then we are basically importing these packages from this. And here we are importing the image, and then we are importing the numpy. All right. Afterwards, we are defining a function which takes an argument called file path. This will not do anything else right now. It'll just define a function. Okay. So here, basically, we have model equals my model. We are instantiating this model. Now here, please note that when we do this, what it's going to do is it's going to download that model from the internet and from the right, and download it into my user space. And this model will basically is that black box. Okay. And then we have this is the step. You remember from the last one, these are the steps that we did there also, right? So here we are loading an image from a path, whatever is the argument that came in, and we are converting that into this size. And then we are converting it to this array. And then we are basically pre-processing it. And afterwards, this is the step where it's converting your image into the classes. It's predicting. This is the prediction phase. Okay, we are only doing prediction here. We are not doing any training. Prediction is also called inference. Okay, and the right. This is you can do decode prediction, and basically this will convert this prediction from number and probability into the human understandable text, right? It'll give something like 0, 1, 2, or things like that. And then prediction will be something like elephant. Okay, so and then we are returning that prediction. So you can see this function is going to take the file path, meaning the file that user is uploading, will save it somewhere, and then it will return what is found in that image. What are the things that are found in the image? All right. So that's pretty much, and we have done it. Okay. Those who are comfortable with VI, they can follow this instruction. Those who are not, they can go to the files and do it. All right. Now, let's now is this was the machine learning deep learning part whereby we are doing inference. Now let's try to build the web application, or you can say website part of it. Okay, so we go into this folder, create a new directory called static using mkdir. Okay, of course you can go to the files and you can do it from there as well. And then right, and when you basically do ls, you can see static. It's saying that change the directory to static using cd command. So I'm doing that. Fine. Now let me check if I'm doing everything okay. Yes, looks like I'm in the right direction. That's the beauty about this assessment engine. It basically nudges you. It basically helps you, understand the entire process and still guide you. So now, basically, we are in this directory. That's what is the instruction about it. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to create the CSS directory inside it. Okay. So, and then we are going to create a style sheet. When you are creating a website, there is HTML, and you basically beautify it with the styles like color is this, position is this, and so on. Those element beautification is what we do in the CSS. Now we have to go to the CSS folder. We have to create a CSS folder inside static. We are in the static right now, so we are going to create a directory called CSS. Okay. I hope my font is visible to everybody. Okay, so we are going to do CSS. So now you can see that this is basically the folder that we are going to create the style sheet. Okay, now either we can go to the files. Let me just show you from the files. Let me refresh it. Nice. You can see that there is static folder, there is CSS, and inside this, we are going to create a file named main.css, right? So we are going to say new text file. All right. Not many people like console, I know. Okay. But there is no escaping from it. All right. I'm going to put it here. All right. So those who are inclined to understand it, they can basically try to understand it. But honestly speaking, I'm really, really pathetic at the website part. Okay. And someday I'm going to learn how to style things up. On top of it, I'm a bit colorblind, so I can't figure out many colors. Okay, so this is my style sheet where I'm saying that body background color will be this, font family will be this, header will be, the background color for the header is going to be this, and title is going to be this. And here I'm saying that if there is a name of an element called title, then put these styles onto that. Similarly, we're going to create a name of the element called upload image thumb, and these are the properties of this. So we are right now creating main.css. We are not using it right now. I'll show you where are we going to use it. Now let me see if looks like it is there. Go back to the console, So let me just see if it is there. Yes, it is there. And let me just do cat. Cat means printing it on the screen, and looks like we are all set. Good. So, all right. So we are on the 9th step right now. So now is the time that we create a folder called uploads in the static one itself. Uploads in the static. So we'll go back to one level up. So how do you do that? Doing cd dot dot. Okay. So if you see right now, I'm on this directory, or you can, right? You can simply do cd tilde. Tilde means home directory. Now you can see my home directory is this. Why I'm doing this is because most of us get confused with it. Okay. Now I can say cd this slash static. So now I'm in this directory. PWD is present working directory. Okay. So these are very simple command. What you did do in the Windows Explorer using double, up using visually. Here we are passing the commands for the same thing. All right. So here in this folder, we have to create a folder called uploads. Let me just go to that directory. Now my current directory is image classification. This is the apps directory, and then static, then uploads. Now this is my present directory. Let me click on submit answer. Perfect. So we're going well so far. Next thing is right, what we're going to do is we're going to create templates directory in basically at this level. Okay, so we're going to create templates directory. And how do I go up? Dot dot slash dot dot, meaning one up, then again up. All right, so go up and up. That's what it means. So I'm saying mkdir this. So essentially, if I go here, then you can see. All right. Those who are wondering what all is happening, I'll just tell you what all is happening. CD change directory, PWD is present working directory. And if you say, how do you say tree? Is it like this? No. I remember there was a nice, whoa. This is not what I was looking for. It's just showing everything. Okay. So you can see if you go into file section. Okay. So right now we have created templates, static. This is the file that contains our main logic. This is the environment that we created. And then inside static, we created uploads. There's nothing in it. In CSS, there is main.css that contains our style sheet. And also, templates is also empty right now. Okay. So templates will contain our main website. Okay, those who are familiar with HTML, they will not have panic attack looking at the HTML code. So that's pretty much. Let's go ahead. All right. Now, we're going to create a template file called layout.html. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to create this layout.html inside templates. Okay. So inside templates, we are going to create layout.html. Okay. And let me also copy paste this content. I'll explain to you what it means. All right. Text file. Okay. Those who are comfortable with the console, they can do it in the console itself. All right. So I'm giving it a name. It says layout.html. Now you can see there is HTML, head. These are the meta tags. Here I'm referring. There must be, yeah, you can see here we are mentioning that this is the file that we want in our head, right? So this style sheet will be applied to our application. This title, you see this will be the meaning of class title is coming from main.css, and like the styles will be applied from there. So here there is, you can see there is block, content, and block. So meaning that this is going to be an empty block in which the people who are going to use this layout, they will fill this block with their stuff. Okay, and it's a common strategy when you're building a web application or website, that you create a template with all the menu and everything, navigation bar and everything, and then you put it here. Here we are using jQuery. jQuery is a JavaScript library. Then there is a popper and so on. So these are the common library that people use when building website, like Bootstrap. Bootstrap is for making your website work on the phone as well as everywhere. So these are very nice, public libraries that people use, jQuery, Bootstrap, and so on. All right. So that's what we are using here, and we are directly using from their own servers instead of keeping it on our server. All right. This is fairly raw in the sense that we are basically, in order to understand every part of it, we are making sure that we understand what's going on. All right. So that's pretty much. Let's move ahead. So now we are going to create something called index file. Okay, this is the index file, the home page of it, which is going to inherit the layout. Okay, so let's try to, in the template itself, we are going to create index.html. Okay, same strategy. We go to new text file and click on change the name of it to index.html, and then we are going to copy paste this content. Now here is the cool part, I'll just explain to you. So all of the entire layout, whatever HTML we created, is inherited from that. And this content for this block is here. Okay, this content from the block is here, meaning that this layout will be filled with this part. Okay, so your the result will be looking really nice, and I'm going to save it. All right. So essentially, these two files combined together, layout and index.html combined together, would look really nice. Now, moving ahead here, you can see that's what we discussed. Now, okay, let's take a look at this particular section. What we are saying is upload an image to predict its class. Okay, and you can see there is a form action, and this is going to slash uploader. When somebody selects a file, it's going to hit this particular URL with the content of this file. Okay, and you can see that this is essentially a form. It's a form submission. So whenever you want to create a form, you basically use this form. Okay, and there'll be a file, there'll be a submit, and so on. Now let's just move ahead. So then we are done with this part. Okay, now is that right? So we have created a home page where there will upload button. Then we are creating and we have created a layout in which we had like an entire home page with navigation bars. And then we also created the style sheets. So this is the UI part of it. Okay, let me refresh. I hope it'll come here. Perfect. Now is the time that we create upload.html. Basically, once we are done with uploading, the result will be shown using this HTML file. Okay. So how do you do that? Create new text file. Put it the name upload.html. And then in this, we are copy pasting this content. Okay, so let's just take a look at it. It says that, all right, it shows the prediction. You see that? So it's essentially going to be template whereby predictions will come from our server, and this template will be filled with that. And this template is inheriting the layout.html. Okay, do take a look at how Flask works. Try to create a simple app using Flask, and everything will be very straightforward to you. All right. So now moving ahead. Perfect. So what all we have done so far? On one hand, we have a function that will take a file name. They'll take a file name and convert it into classes and give you back the result, right? There is one machine learning model execution part or inference part is ready. The other part is the front end. When the user accesses index.html, what are we going to show, right? And when user submits it, there is slash uploader where it will go. That is not yet ready. Okay, so that slash uploader is what we have to make now. Okay, So that, right? How would you do that? Using app.py. This is the main entry point of our web application. Okay, this is the main entry point of our web application. So yeah, all right. Okay, so this is a bit detailed. I'm going to just follow this. So let me go to console. So all right, so I'm at the right place. Now it says that now inside this, create a file named app.py. Okay, I'm little lazy in that, so I'm just going to go to this folder. In this folder, I'm going to create new text file. Okay, all right, and change the name to app.py. Now it says that import Flask, request render template from Flask. Okay, I'm going to say this. All right. It might look very lame, but it's quite useful if you follow all the instructions. Okay. At least you try to understand what's going on here. All right. So there we go. Now it says that import OS. This one I can type import OS. Then it says from app helper, import this. Okay. Now is the time that we are initializing the Flask server. Okay. We are initializing the Flask server. But I'm wondering, where did this name come from? Okay. All right. So name is by default, whatever is the name of the program. So define the, right. Now here is a very important part. Look at this. So here we are saying, we are telling Flask that, hey, if somebody comes for slash, as in the top level URL, render this particular HTML file. Okay. That's what we are telling it. Okay. Similarly, here we are telling it that if somebody requests for uploader, specifically when they do the post, as in when they submit the form, then do call this function. Okay, this is where we are doing the mapping between the URL and the logic, URL and the code. This is where the mapping is happening in app.py. Okay, so here we are saying that predictions are blank right now, and then you see that where is my function that, yeah, we have imported everything from app helper because we created that app helper, remember? So we are importing all the functions from that program. Okay, and from there we are getting this particular function, get classes. And here what we are saying is that when users are submitting, we extract the upload, we extract the data and put it in the uploads, right? We save this file, you see that f.save, we are saving this file, at this location inside uploads, right, in static. So this way we are able to able to save the data. Now here it's a bit risky. Please keep in mind it's a bit risky because we are, if you're going for production, make sure your upload folder is outside the web application. Do not keep it in this place. Okay, now coming back to it. So here we have saved the file. Once we have saved the file at this location, we are asking our function to return the predictions. And once we get the predictions, we are basically calling the upload.html and filling the predictions with the new predictions. You see that? So here we are rendering this template called upload.html, and we are placing predictions equals predictions, whatever we have prepared so far. All right. So there we go. This is the last thing. Now, we in the towards the end, what we have to do is we have to create the main function. So what does main function do? This is the portion which is starting our web application. What is this part? So whenever you are running a Python app, ensure that ensure that that your function runs only if somebody runs the program. That's why we put name equals main. Okay, and here we are saying is app.run, and we are connecting this and at this port. So it's going to run at this port. Please keep in mind that you have to run at different port if you are on the same server, and therefore you might have to change this port over and multiple times, because maybe somebody is already running something there. Okay, so let me go back there, and so I'm leaving this open for ourselves because we'll have to keep on changing it. Let me see. All right, so we are ready with the whole thing. Okay, now right. So you can also take a look at the classes which are there, like what all classes. There are 1,000 classes that this model can identify. These are those 1,000 classes. Okay, this model knows about these classes. Okay, it knows about Kit Fox, English Setter, Siberian Husky, and so on. It knows about these objects, so it can identify these models. Okay, these classes. Okay, now going ahead, and I'm going to run this now. Is it running? Okay. So, one quick thing is that you need to know which server are you on. So you can look at this notebook or something. You can figure out from there that this is the host name, because since we have multiple servers, you might be having multiple host name. Okay. Now, one more thing is that this is the port number. So what we have to do, go here, find out whether you are on e.cloudxlab, f.cloudxlab, g.cloudxlab, and so on, from probably here. Okay. Now what you're going to say is colon and port number. So what we are saying is run our server 000 means all the ports on the network, because usually in your application you have many hosts, many ethernet cards. If your computer has like 3-4 cards inserted into it, there will be multiple IP addresses assigned to each of them, and therefore your application need to bind with one of the interfaces. Here what we are saying is bind with all interfaces. Okay, bind with all interfaces, and the port number is basically a port number. So on your computer, you can run many services, not only one service, right? So the port number is basically like, like in an office, you have multiple customer service windows. Windows is in, like, when you go to a government department, there are multiple windows and they serve, right? So similarly, window number one, window number two, like that. So on every web server or every server, there are ports. So a email server is usually running at 25 port, and the FTP is file server protocol is running, file transfer protocol is running at 21 port, and SSH is running at 22 port, like that. So similarly, you can create your own server and make it listen to any port. If you are blocking a port less than 1024, you need to be administrator. Therefore, we are using something like 4100. Okay. Now it says that image classification app, you see, it's working. Now we choose an image. Okay. All right. Let's just choose this lion that we selected last time. Should we try this? Okay. Okay. Now you can see that it is taking time, right? It says that, okay, this is the thing it's doing and it's downloading data, it's creating this for the first time, right? Do you see that? For the first time, it's going to take a lot of time because it's going to download the model. It's right now downloading the model. And this model is essentially a bunch of numbers and billions of numbers. Okay. And we'll keep in mind that you can see. Okay. Looks like it is working now. Okay. It says it's 99.988% chance that it is a lion, while this much percent chance is that it is orangutan and chow. Okay. Similarly, we can, let me just see if we have some nice, other nice images that I can feed it. Okay. So you can see that it is working, right? We created the entire web application in probably something like 45 minutes. Okay, so if you are doing by yourself, it'll take you probably 30 minutes because you'll not be talking as much as I am. All right, what happened here? Oh, okay, looks like somebody killed my app. Okay, oh, it says that it cannot process. Okay, I think I've given a wrong image. I think I selected the wrong image. Okay, I will, okay, so, okay, what should I search? What should I find out? Anybody? All right. Okay, shall I try this one? All right, I'm not going to use it, so I do not worry about any. Okay, let's see what happens here. Okay, save image as. So I'm saving this image so that I can try it out. Let me try again. All right. Oh, I selected PDF. I'm sorry. That's the reason why it got bad. Do you think it'll work? Okay. Parallelly, I'm opening this somewhere. Okay, this is what it is. Okay, so it has identified there's an envelope somewhere. I do not know which one is an envelope. Then there is handkerchief. There is a handkerchief. And there is website. This one is thinking it's a website. I see. And thinking somewhere thinking it's there are envelopes. I think this one is envelope. Okay, wonderful. So it's able to do a couple of things really nice. And will it work? This one? How will it work? I don't want this one. All I want is download JPG. Okay. Let me just try uploading this one. Now you might be noticing one more important thing. Okay. One more important thing you might be noticing, when you click submit, it's taking time. Do you see that? It's taking time. It's taking close to 4 or 5 seconds. Internally here, it's taking 4 or 5 seconds. The reason is that it's loading the model over and over again, right? So there is an umbrella in this, there is sunglasses in this, there is a website in this. I do not know which one is thinking is a website. Never mind. So what you see is that it has identified things. Probably since there are mock-up things like this, it's identifying them as website. Okay. Uh, all right. So we have successfully created a web app. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much, and you can delete your virtual environment and the folder to preserve your space. All right. So that's pretty much it. Okay. So in the next discussion, we will take up the issue with respect to the time spent right now. This is not practical because every time the user is asking you, every time we are uploading an image, it's creating the neural network and so on, right? So that way. All right. I hope, I hope this was useful for all of you, and feel free to, Control C means cancel that process, and that's pretty much it. Okay. So there are a couple of questions that I would like to answer. First question is, how can we develop such kind of thing for a mobile app? Okay, let me just write it down because this is a very important question. Okay, okay, how about a mobile app, right? All right. So very good question. Very good question. So it's very important that we talk about that part. All right. So here we go. So all right. So how about a mobile app? How would you create such a mobile app? Okay. So there are two models. Number one is native. I'll explain what is native, and other is hybrid. Okay. So the native is like you develop a native application, and there what you can do is essentially it's like entirely written in say, either you can build it like Android Studio, okay, or you can build with Flutter would be a better choice. Okay. So web app will, like, there will be no web app in this case. There's no server. Okay, there's no server. Okay, again, in native what you can do is you can either use let's say a separate server. Okay, separate server, as in it's basically making call to some service somewhere. Okay, or you can locally load the model using TensorFlow Lite. Okay, so because this model is huge and it's very hard to load this model onto the phone. Okay, this would work offline. This would not work offline because you need a server somewhere, right? So this need to be online. So every time somebody is clicking on the app, it's going to the server, right? uh, Selecting, let's say somebody's selecting the image, it's going to the server, inferring it and coming back. So that's called like a model whereby the service is outside. Okay, this one is usually preferable, but in certain cases where privacy concerns are there and you cannot upload some data to the internet, in those cases you would like to go entirely native. And for that cases you will go for TensorFlow Lite, right? Now, when it comes to hybrid, the other way is what you do is what you do is keep this. Hello. Yeah. What you do is you put it inside a web view. Okay, there are many versions. It's essentially like the way we are talking about. So one cool way would be that create a simple mobile app. Okay, launch your server somewhere, and in that mobile app, host this web view and set the URL for the web view to be this one. Okay, the one that we were running here. So it'll basically look like that, right? So essentially that part. Now that is one very important question. So I hope I was able to answer your question. Now next, moving to a couple of more questions. There are a couple of more questions. One question is, how accurate is this model? How can it further improve if it could be optimized for better performance? Good question. You should take a look at the end-to-end project that we talked about. And also very important part is measuring the accuracy, right? Measuring the accuracy. There are multiple measures of accuracy. There are precision, there are recall, and there is this model has been fine-tuned on the top 5 errors, based on that. Okay, so the way we can improve further is, number one, choosing a better model, as in maybe regularizing the model, maybe adding more layers to it, maybe images, we gather more data, more unique data, more rich data, and feed it to it and train it further. Okay, so it's a hard question. Okay, it's very hard question, but this model is considered to be, you can just take a look at ResNet. What was the ResNet one? Which model did we use? We used there was file, right? Let me just open that file where we are using the model. Okay, anybody? Which file was that where we are using the model? This one, right? App helper. Okay, so in here you can see that we are using ResNet 50. Okay, so take a look at what does it mean by ResNet 50, and you'll get an answer. Okay, and take a look at the architecture of it, and you will understand how many weights are there in this. Okay, there are billion numbers that represents this model. Okay, so take a look at that. Now coming back to where we were. Okay, so and also you can also take a look at ResNet 50 accuracy. Okay, all right. So ResNet 50's top 5 accuracy is basically 0.92, and this is the model size. Okay, and you can see. So meaning that the object that we are looking for, if it's comes in top 5, we call it accurate enough. And for that, it's like 92.1% cases, the object that we're looking for comes in top 5. So it's pretty decent. And I hope I was able to answer your question. A wonderful question. So question is, employees with the label, and can we use the same for identifying employee ID when front end? Yes, 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 you can do that. You can actually just use a pre-trained model, pre-trained model called FaceNet. Okay, so in the same way, you can use it with FaceNet. Take a look at FaceNet, right? And you'll be able to do it. And we have one project on FaceNet in the next one. So take a look at that. Okay. And our question is, all right. So do we need to create account in CloudxLab? Yes. If you're going to use the lab, you'll have to create an account. And since we need, because since we are giving the complete environment to you, there are certain restrictions with respect to, we need to know you a bit. Therefore, we have a $1 KYC, which gets refunded to you immediately. So you can take a trial account and then you can purchase if you want. Our charges are very reasonable. They are just sufficient for covering our cloud infrastructure costs. So I hope you will be kind enough to take up our services. And All right, let me just say, take a look at a few more questions. Uh, yes, sir. Thank you so much. We would call you an advisor with the military to train other people. Civilian that did not know how to read or write English, we use pictures only. I see. I see. You can drop an email to reach us at CloudxLab, reach us at CloudxLab, or reach out to me at LinkedIn. Um, uh, and then we can discuss. A question from Shubham is certificate. Certificate, I would say that it's pretty straightforward. Finish this, request a certificate. You see the certificate here? Okay. Uh, all right. So, and you'll get a certificate. All right. A question is programming assistance. Yeah. All right. One question from Jashruti is that could you please tell us with respect to desktop app as well? Desktop app, you can do whatever we did just now. You can just launch it on desktop as such. Okay. And you can just launch the server locally and use it, because in case of desktop, there is no problem at all. Or on desktop, if you want to bundle it with, let's say there are multiple Python way of developing desktop app, you can use that. So almost every library using which you can build a desktop app, you can, call the model. Okay. The problem with the mobile app is that on mobile app, if you're hosting a model, it's going to do memory overflow because it's a fairly large model. And therefore, there is an extra treatment needed for the mobile app. A question is, all right. I hope I answered your question. I want to import a style from an artist art to an image. I am new loss function having 100 terms. It's very complicated. Can you write code about it or teach it? TensorFlow will not work. Okay. All right. Do post it on the forum and so on. I teach people to do their work. I usually avoid solving people's assignments. Okay. So do take up our courses. There are right from the homepage in order to learn it. A question is, what is robustness? Robustness is that how stable is the model, right? Sometimes there are models who are doing pretty well on certain examples, and the moment you slightly change the look of things, it just goes haywire. That's essentially what is robustness. Question from Krishna is that can we use it to exception model? Yes, the process remains same. Where we are importing the RESTnet, you can use exception and that should work. All right. Okay, so do reach out to me in case you have a direct question. On either you reach out on LinkedIn, or you can just on CloudxLab itself. We have a good social platform whereby you can just send a friend request to anybody. You can just search up here also. Okay, I think I'll appear here. Yeah. So this is the one, not the 0xp one. This is the one. Okay. Yeah, no 0xp one. This one. All right. Um. All right. I want you to carry out these sessions frequently. It's a very long gap between two continuous sessions. No, we did it in last Wednesday, and before that also we did it. So we're going to do these sessions every Wednesday. A question is that we call that one foot in front of the other by ourselves. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Nice session. All right, wonderful, and thank you so much. And I hope I was able to answer your questions, and I hope I was able to help you with the 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 help you with your questions. I'm hoping. Okay, this is my LinkedIn profile. Those who want to send me a request there, you can send. Okay. All right. So great. Wonderful to have all of you in this discussion. And thank you, everyone. I really enjoyed your questions. Feel free to reach out to us. Do take a look at the wonderful courses that we are running. These courses are doing pretty well, and feel free to enroll in any of these courses. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, and also go to explore courses. And there are guided projects, lots of them. Feel free to continue the guided projects. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Although it was supposed to finish it up at 10 o'clock, but I have a couple of more minutes. I'll wait here for your questions. A question from Avali is that why should the upload be kept outside during production? Good question. Good question. I think I was thinking of answering this question, but it's good that you reminded. Let me go to my lab. Okay. In my lab, there is a Jupyter section. You can see my screen, right? Um, and this is my home directory. And apart from that window on the right hand side, you can also access everything from here. Okay. And let me again find out where is my folder. This is the folder that I just created. In this, you can see that one big mistake we have made is that we have kept uploads here, right? Here. Now, I'll tell you some very interesting part about this error. Okay. This error is, imagine that there is a user who uploads a Python program here. You can see that those files being uploaded here, whatever we uploaded. Somebody uploads the Python program, okay, that does some mischief on the server, like deletes the data or hacks into your server, right? So if it is in the same folder, the chances are that we will be able to access it, right? Using the URL, because our web application server was allowing this image and other thing to be accessed. Therefore, if it is a Python server, the chances are that it can be basically accessed, and therefore your servers can be hacked. Okay. All right. So that's the reason. Okay. Therefore, this uploads folder should not be accessible from your web server. Okay. So that it can't be accessed by the user from the remote URL. Okay. All right. When Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any question. Okay. Okay. So yes, of course, you can all get a certificate. Go to the first finish this question. Okay, first finish this project. Go to explore courses. Look for the Flask, and look for the Flask here, and try finishing it. Once you finish it, there will be a button called request certificate. Please click on that, and you'll get the certificate. All right. So I personally want all of you to try it so that you can get the certificate. All right. And that's the purpose of the certificate. And feel free to reach out to us, and do check out the courses that we have on CloudxLab. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm really happy. And there's a question that 2 to 3 sessions per week will be helpful. Yes, they'll be helpful, but I'm going to run the paid one also, because I too have to, um, you know, do something else also. Okay. All right. So yes, paid sessions, generally I run 2 sessions per week, and each 3 hours. This one is free, open for all, so that everybody can learn via projects. Okay. So thank you, everyone. I'm really happy to see all of you, and I can see many people who are coming Again, I'm very happy that I was able to help you in some way or the other, and I'm hoping that all of you stay safe and in the times of pandemic. Bye bye. Have a good day. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.